Name is Prabhat and I am representing the Economic Times here. We have a B2B vertical that's called ET Pharma. We have it here Mr. Rajiv and Mr. Ravi. Mr. Rajiv, the company has been featured in a leading publication as well in the past. If you could share some insights on the company and if you could go ahead and talk about this merger as well after that.
We started this company with Vietnam as a base, and in last, you can say, we started in 2006. The company has grown significantly, and we are a strong player in ASEAN now, and that's how the Economic Times picked it up. Business Outlook, it picked up as a fastest growing pharma company. So now we are all across in ASEAN. We are the largest player amongst Indian companies. We are there in India, we are there in CIS, have presence in Europe, we have an entity in Canada, and we have an asset which we are going to launch in the next year in US market. So we are all across the world now.
About this merger, if you could comment on it.
Okay, so India has been a sort of a dream for me to get into India. Sort of a, you can say a sort of a Garbhapsi sort of a thing, that where I wanted to do something great in India. And this whole thing which we started was in 2017 and 18 with an acquisition of a local manufacturing unit in Aurangabad, which is currently a European approved manufacturing unit. But that was not sufficient because that manufacturing unit was just a manufacturing unit. It didn't have much impact in the Indian market. So that's where we thought that this merger with KCH, because KCH has its own front end with more than 400 people working on the ground. So we thought it would be a good combination where with our manufacturing facility, with our international experience, expertise, our R&D capabilities, we thought it would be a great merger so that there is a significant impact for RVLL in India.
So you mentioned that there was this manufacturing facility in Aurangabad and it didn't have much of an impact. Like, what was the issue there? Like, what were the challenges?
Okay, so the acquisition which we did it in India was basically meant for international market. And the day when we acquired this plant, we started building up our own product portfolio. And that's how what I was talking about is that we have presence in Europe because of the products which were developed in the Indian entity. But as such, inside the Indian market, we didn't have a much impact. So that's what I basically meant.
So, and what was the learning from it? The learnings?
In terms of to have a strong company in India, I think you have to have a very strong front end. And of course, in terms of international markets, still R&D is the key. If you have a good R&D capabilities, which basically means is product development capabilities, then obviously you can do a great international market business, which we are currently doing.
What is the plan of your organization in the global market, including the Asian market as well?
Okay. So currently in ASEAN, we are the strongest player. We have our very strong presence in Vietnam. We are there in Philippines. We are there in Thailand. We are there in Cambodia. We have some product under registration in Malaysia. We also have a very strong presence in Myanmar. And all these countries which I'm referring to, we have our own ground operations and very, very strong force in ASEAN. We are the largest company in ASEAN region. And with the Indian entity which we have built up a product portfolio so that the products can be exported to European markets and to US market. And India is, of course, something which we are focusing on now to get into the Indian market.
Moving on to Mr. Ravi. So, how does the merger with RV and Coish channel business and legacy brands like Celin and Septran align with the strategic vision of the Indian pharmaceutical market, and how does it align with your organization as well?
So the plans of RV are to become more pervasive in India. As you mentioned, that just the manufacturing facility did not provide the required impetus or the required stepping stone to get into Indian pharma market in the desired manner. And so this front end with brands that have significant prominence provides the ideal platform to get into a market that by its sheer size, both in terms of demographics and volume, is one of the leading markets in the world. I think by size alone, India would be among the third or fourth largest manufacturer in terms of units. A large part of it gets exported, but a large part is also getting consumed now. Also, India's dimensions are slightly changing, where we are moving from being a more illness inclined country to a more wellness inclined country as well. So there's more and more layers that are growing in the Indian pharma market, and there's more to do. So just a manufacturing plant alone does not provide you enough width to carry out all these things. You need brands that are recognized in households. You need brands that are recognized in the medical community. You need brands that are well entrenched in the channels. So Legacy and KCH brands possess all these attributes. They are well recognized in the medical community. They are well recognized in households. General consumers know about them, and the trade also has a great reverence almost for those brands, because they have almost 80 years and 50 years of track record behind them.
So you mentioned about being pervasive. So if you could elaborate on that.
See, pervasive, which you can only do one part. The pharma value chain starts right from development, goes right into consumption. And you could participate in any of the segment as far as the pharma value chain goes. Now, being just a development and a manufacturing guy, you are only participating maybe one or two dimensions of the entire pharma value chain. Now you are also doing marketing. You are also trying to get into OTC, which was another part that is helping RV. RV is well entrenched as far as the OTC business goes in the ASEAN market. They want to carry out something similar in the Indian context as well. So that pervasiveness comes from having several links in the pharma value chain rather than having just a unidimensional part of it.
So you mentioned about from illness to wellness, and you've also mentioned the OTC market. So if you could first add a few more layers to illness to wellness, and why the Indian consumers or the Indians in general are transitioning from illness to wellness. Is COVID a catalyst here, or it is a phase that has been ongoing and COVID brought a boom to it?
You're right. So this phase was already on as the purchasing power and general awareness of people is growing. They want to be healthy even in their 50s, they want to be healthy in their 60s. Otherwise, by the time people were our age, people used to start thinking about, okay, now we have reached a midlife, there's only crisis beyond this, and it's only grandparentage that we have to take care of. But now people are going beyond that. We don't consider ourselves anywhere in the midlife zone as even now. So we are taking charge of our own health. And you rightly said that COVID has catalyzed this process.
Mr. Rajiv, what are your views on this?
Yeah, I also see that this trend is all across in ASEAN and of course in India also, because the average age is going up. And since the average age is going up, and now people want to have a healthier aging. And that's one of the reasons why this nutraceutical segment or the food segment is growing fast. But of course, there has to be probably more controls on nutraceuticals, which I believe is coming in, and which actually should come. Because if we keep this market very open, there is a possibility that some products with not sufficient quality standards will affect the growth of this whole nutraceutical business.
Are you eyeing the nutraceutical market in the future as well?
Yeah, we do have a plan. In fact, in ASEAN, we do nutraceutical products. We are very strong OTC sort of a company where we do an active brand promotion using media in countries like Vietnam, in Myanmar, in Philippines. So we have a similar plans for India also. So in India also, if you see the two brands which we call it as the legacy brands, a brand like Celin, we have a brand like Septran, which is again a legacy brand. For last 50 years the brand is there. And also a brand for a sexual wellness which we have. So obviously we'll choose any one of that product in the coming year to focus on the OTC marketing where we go to the consumer directly instead of just focusing on the pharmacy channel.
Okay. So this is in the pipeline for the future.
Yeah, when I say the plan is that we will start not in future, we'll start in this year, uh, but probably we'll start on a small scale, probably starting from the markets where we have the strengths, like UP, Bihar, West Bengal. So these are the three markets where we'll start with probably having a OTC promotion model, and eventually we'll go all India.
Okay. And how do you differentiate your organization with other organizations?
See, for us, if you look at, if we compare ourselves with any other company from the region or from India to be specific, we are a very strong company which is originated from ASEAN, right? Of course, we are a Indian company with presence in ASEAN, and we are the very strong presence, right? Where we have a business which is very sticky business is the right word, which basically means the business will exist forever. Right? We have a fairly large OTC brands. We have the brands with the doctor's promotion. Unlike other Indian companies, if you look at this, they're more focused on US and Europe, right? And US Europe markets are patent-driven markets. The moment the patents are off, you're able to launch the product, and the prices will keep on coming down. Whereas the markets where we are operating well, the prices probably will be sustainable, or maybe there can be an increase in prices once the brands are built. So in that sense, we are very different in comparison to any other company from India.
So you mentioned that these Indian brands concentrate more on the European and US market, majorly the US market because, as you said, patented brands. So once the patents are off, they make these branded generics, and that is how they drive the volumes, and that is how they are sustaining. But here you mentioned that you're not looking at that kind of a marketing strategy or a business model.
No, no, I think I'll correct myself here. What I mean is that we will be focusing on US and European markets, but with the differentiated products. Or we will probably the first sort of a product to be there, or a first generic to be there in the market, or a product with the company which will launch a differentiated product. So we are focusing on Europe. Like I must share with you that last year we had our first product launched in European market, which was the first generic in European market. So our focus will be obviously be first generic or a differentiated product, but it will not be a me too sort of a product. That's the reason our whole R&D team, which is working only on the products which have some sort of a differentiation, or where the competition will be comparatively lesser. Those are the products which will be focusing for US and European markets.
And how close to your heart is the Indian market?
I was presenting in the morning that my grandfather was a freedom fighter with INA. My father was in Indian Air Force. So obviously coming back to India is something which I always wanted to do. I also, as I started my career as a medical rep, so obviously Indian market is very close to me. I really wanted to be in Indian market, and I'm very happy that today is a day when I'm able to say that yeah, we are there in India now.
In other ways, you're saying you're a patriot at heart.
Yeah, it is there in the blood, in fact.
Okay. Moving on to Mr. Ravi. What effect do you think this strategic merger will have, specifically in terms of providing high quality healthcare solutions?
The brands which have just been amalgamated or acquired into RV were more of a front-end game. They were getting outsourced and manufactured by third parties and then being available for the Indian populace. The differentiation, as you spoke about, could be in terms of having the developmental and the manufacturing capabilities, which are now getting added on to just the marketing capabilities. So if you have developmental capabilities, you can bring differentiated products in the same segments. So vitamin C is a great immunity builder. Now, if you want to expand that dimension, can it only be tablets? Or maybe it can be drops, it can be it can be multiple forms of administering the product. So that is the added piece which RV can bring. So that's a direct effect on stakeholders as far as the Indian populace is concerned. Another part about being able to manufacture is, can you bring in more affordability on the differentiated forms? Now, typically you will find that differentiated forms also become more expensive. So again, they go beyond the reach and defeat the purpose why they were first introduced. So being able to control and contain your costs also gives you the ability to make it affordable. So you're not just bringing a differentiated product in the market, you're also making it actually available to the people.
You mentioned affordability. So coming to the aspect of affordability, how much of a differentiator is it in the Indian market? Are Indians actually looking at affordability or they are looking for value for money?
There are India as a market has many layers, as I told you. There's a large part of India which look at affordability.
And
Where people have to worry about the next meal, I think they also need to worry about whether I should take my next dose.
how is your organization going to increase its impact on healthcare innovation and solutions in India going forward?
So, as I said, that we have a fairly good and robust R&D center. We have a lot of learning from the international markets where we have an idea about the new products. We have done some work about the new product development. So all this development work which will start eventually happening in India. Currently, we are operating in ASEAN. We are there in many countries. So the whole R&D work or the product development work will happen in India. And whatever products which are differentiated gets developed in India, it will be meant for international markets as well as for Indian market. So I think this product which, see, in pharma market, I still believe that product is one of the key differentiator. If you have a good product, a good dosage delivery system or a differentiated product, market will have acceptance. And as Ravi was also talking about, India is actually two Indias, right? One India which is middle class India, which is rich India. For them, the differentiation works well. And the other India is where the people are not able to afford. For them, there will be obviously price becomes very important. And for them, the Me Too products works for them. So for us, the brands which we have today with Celin and Septran, we have ability to penetrate deeper into the market, especially in the rural India, right? With a brand like Celin, which has a usage like 75 crores tablets a year, which we sell, which people use. A brand like Septran, which is a low-end antibiotic, right? Which is again meant for rural India. So we have this ability to be present in the rural India, and we will probably go for buying in some more tail-end brands, right, or legacy brands of some other companies, so that in terms of a penetration, we become a company to reckon with, or a force to reckon with in India. And other is a differentiated product, which I was talking about, which basically we will be developing for the international businesses. And these are the products which will be focusing probably in the middle class or the other part of the India, which I say a rich India.
Since this is a merger, what is your strategic vision for the next few years? If both of you could comment on it.
Currently, as a company, we have a presence in ASEAN, which we have a very strong presence in ASEAN. We want to be a strong force in India also, right? We have done some work in Europe in terms of making our product registered. We have launched one product. We also have a plan to launch products in US market. So in terms of the company, we want to be a global company which has presence all across the world, especially in the developed countries in ASEAN. We want to maintain a leadership position. And in India, we want to be a force to reckon with. So in terms of from a sheer number point of view, from a revenue perspective, currently we have a business of around 1,500 crores, which we are doing currently. We see that in next 5 to 6 years, it will be around 6,000 crores, which we are targeting, and which I think we have shared with our team today. So this is what, in terms of numbers, we are looking at. These are the numbers which we will be having.
So it's an ambitious pursuit that we are after. And in that ambitious pursuit, any and every element that you can add to differentiate or to increase your penetration. So what RV achieves is not just presence, but also prevalence. You can achieve presence through a merger but is there prevalence? So some of the products which are a part of this portfolio have been prevalent for a long time and will prevail for a longer period of time. So there's prevalence also leading to permanence. And that's what is going to be somewhat of catapulting from the current value to the value that we are currently pursuing.
Conclude this conversation, I just want your views on how the Indian pharmaceutical market is completely different to compare to when we compare it to the European countries or the Western countries or the developed nations. So your take on it?
So in India market, if you, from a pharma perspective, I will talk. India has, in terms of the price to a consumer or price to patient, we are one of the lowest in the world. So if you, but the difference is, of course, there is a lot of, the insurance coverage is lesser. Out of the pocket payment is more. But in terms of a cost per tablet or a price per tablet, it's the lowest in the world today, right? Whereas in the European market or in the Western world, the price per tablet or per unit is extremely expensive. So in that sense, I think India is significantly saving in terms of, as a nation, we are saving a significant amount of an expense for the government and for the people. So in that sense, I think from a pharma perspective, we should be very proud that Indian pharma industry is a strong force in India.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. Thank you, Mr. Ravi. Thank you so much.